My name is Barbara Eichner. I'm a music historian working here at Oxford Brookes, and my research falls broadly into two areas. One is sacred music in the 16th century, and the other is music in the long 19th century, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. I find the 19th century a really fascinating era because in so many ways it is still with us. If you look at any concert program, it's really dominated by the music written between Mozart's and Mahler's time. But also many ways in which we think about music still date back from the 19th century. The musician as genius, the composer genius, Beethoven the hero, the musician as a celebrity, the idea of the musical artwork, music in a culture of mass media. So all these things are still with us, and they shape how we think not just about music of the 19th century, but also about our contemporary musical life. My research in the 19th century focuses more particularly on German national identity. The 19th century was the heyday of the national state, and all aspects of culture, not just politics, but also the arts, music especially, were roped into the service of the national identity. My book is entitled History in Mighty Sounds, and that's what I tried to show. How history, the ideas of national legends, mythology, the medieval emperors, Minnesingers, the Nibelungs, how they were all utilized as subjects for musical compositions, for operas, for symphonic poems, for symphonies, but also for male choirs, and how listening to these pieces and also performing these pieces, how this helped Germans to forge their national identity. One chapter is dedicated to the male voice choirs, and that's an interesting phenomenon because they sit rather uncomfortably between music as a social practice on the one hand and music as an aesthetic experience on the other. Quite a lot of the music you encounter is actually very simple and very mundane, and music theorists probably wouldn't get much fun out of it. But for the people who sang it, it was very important. They could imagine themselves being Vikings or being mighty warrior heroes when they sang one of these upbeat, rousing choruses. So these German men could imagine themselves as being masculine, warrior-like members of their nation, and something which they couldn't do in their day-to-day experience. I want to take my 19th century research further by focusing on the music of Richard Wagner. I've done a fair bit of work on him during the Wagner anniversary in 2013, and currently I'm working on an article about the politics of Lohengrin. That's an opera that's usually not very much thought about in terms of Wagner's political angle, so that's something I'm going to explore. And in the future I want to write a book about the minor characters in Wagner's operas, because Parsifal looks quite different from the angle of Klingsor, or Tristan and Isolde looks quite different if you think about it from the angle of Brangäne and Covenal. So that's something I want to explore in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm teaching a fair bit of music on the Brookes music degrees. It forms an important part of the Music History Survey module for the first-year students. On the Music MA, there's a dedicated module which focuses on approaches to 19th century music. So we are not just looking at what happened in the 19th century, even that is already quite a lot, ranging from Vienna around 1800 to London around 1900, the symphony after Beethoven, the virtuoso performer, and so on. But we are also studying how the 19th century has been studied. How have our attitudes to things like race, gender, and class changed in the 19th century? How has 19th century music come to occupy such an important part in today's culture and also in today's scholarship? Quite often the students actually surprise me with the things they're interested in. So, for example, recently a student has worked on 19th century Jewish music, which is a topic I didn't have on the radar at all, and it just shows you that there's still so much to discover. 19th century music in the Brookes Music MA, that's really a win-win situation. It gives me the opportunity to teach on something that's really close to my heart and something that I'm enthusiastic about, and that's part of my ongoing research. And it gives students the opportunity to develop their own research interests in what is surely a fascinating area.